It's September in Halifax, and that means students. A lot of students. We have just over 30,000 of them in the city, and that brings up the question, where do these students live? This video is sponsored by the Halifax team of the Neighbourhood Change Research Group, funded through the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada. They also produced much of the research I'm using for this video. To learn more about their research, check out their website. Students often live in a place like this. It might look like a regular old house, but it's actually several different apartments. This type of housing is quite popular in areas near universities, but that wasn't always the case. For a while, most of these houses were homes for single families, but then those homeowners realized something. You can make a heck of a lot more money renting your house out to students. In the late 90s, many of these houses were divvied up into separate apartments. And among those houses is one kind of student apartment that is technically illegal. Hey, how's it going, man? But how many bedrooms are in a place like this?
There are 6 in this one. So we have one of our fridges in here.
Yeah, between 6 people, I guess you must need a lot of extra fridge space. Seeing a mini fridge over here as well, and plus a freezer, is that? Yeah. Many of these apartments fit a lot of people into a space, sometimes advertising 6 or more bedrooms in one apartment. The Peninsula Land Use Bylaw states that a shared apartment with 6 or more bedrooms is defined as a rooming house, which under the law must be licensed and subject to inspections to make sure that a certain level of safety is being met. But most of these student apartments don't have that license. How many? Well, that was the subject of some research that I did while I was a student myself at Dalhousie University. I combed through nearly 12 months of Kijiji ads looking for apartments with 6 or more bedrooms. Yeah, it was a lot of work. And at the end of it all, I found 57 addresses that weren't licensed. 47 of those within 400 meters of a university campus, and almost every single one located in areas where the zoning bylaw did not allow for a rooming house in the first place. All these places are technically illegal, but the city can only enforce this law if the tenants report them. Those places are also making a killing. Landlords usually charge around $400 to $600 per bedroom per month. Multiply that by 6 bedrooms, you're collecting up to $3,600 a month for one apartment. Some landlords own several of these properties, and for them, they're pretty much running a student rental empire in Halifax. Now, there's nothing wrong with making money, but the city's concern is safety. These houses are often in poor condition, and there are concerns of overcrowding. And for the families that still live in these areas, these places don't make amazing neighbors. The turnover of tenants is so frequent, and, well, students are students. As a solution, the city has often proposed creating a landlord license, not just for the 6-bedroom apartments, but for every rental in Halifax. And many housing organizations have given their support to the idea. Now, I think there are good intentions behind this approach. Perhaps there could be more oversight over Halifax's rental properties. However, there are some cautionary tales around licensing. In the city of Kitchener, where students similarly live in neighborhoods close to the University of Waterloo, the local government introduced a rental license in 2012. That license required landlords to register their apartments, have inspections for their buildings, and place the minimum distance between rental properties. That rule has been blamed for a decrease in the amount of rental units and an increase in rental prices. Licensing also tends to favor larger buildings over smaller ones because the cost is spread out over many more units. So in Kitchener, this has led to a boom in construction of student-focused high-rises. Since then, the Ontario Human Rights Commission has raised some concerns that this type of license not only limits student housing, but could also limit the supply of affordable housing in general. The licensing debate is certainly not settled, but there's something we should remember in all of this. Sketchy student apartments are kind of necessary. First off, university residences in Halifax only provide enough housing for 13% of the student population. The average rent for a residence room is $900 a month, and that's not even including a meal plan. And according to the Halifax Partnership, the average rent of a single bachelor apartment in the city centre is $1,000 a month. If you compare those numbers to the $400 to $600 a month you'll be paying for a room in a kind of illegal student apartment, it's pretty easy to see that there's no competition. These places may be sketchy, but they provide an essential form of housing for students, as well as anyone that needs a place to live for cheap. The question is whether licensing will help or hurt these people. Halifax also has a history of trying to regulate affordable housing, and the results? Well, we'll get into that in another video. Stay tuned.